Welcome to VSB News Online for Tuesday, November 18th. I'm Peter Kitzel. In just a few hours, Bermuda will know the winner of today's by-election in constituency 33, Sands South, where candidates Georgia Marshall for the OBA and Jamal Simmons for the PLP pressed the flesh after a few short weeks of canvassing. Charles Webb was at the polling station, the Lodge of Summers Isle, and sent us this report.
No one can say that the atmosphere at the polling station this morning was not harmonious. Voters, candidates, and political minders were all smiles, as if they loved one another. Former Premier Craig Cannonier naturally spoke warmly of the OBA candidate, Georgia Marshall.
Georgia's reputation had already spoken, for itself before she even got involved in politics. So we know that we have a quality candidate. She's been on the ground from day one since we released her out into the community, and every day. There hasn't been a day that she hasn't been out canvassing. And really and truly in Bermuda, that's the way to get the vote, to get out and get on the doorstep. Unfortunately, with just a couple of weeks for the election, I'm sure that we haven't been able to get to all the houses in all the community area, but we've done a great job of getting her out, so we're excited.
Lionel Simmons is an elder statesman in the political realm, and he told me of the advice he had given to his son, Jamal, before entering politics.
I told him, if you're going into politics, you should go in for service for your community. That's what I think is important. I think lots of times politicians lose sight of what they're doing in Parliament. I think you have to look out for your community and always remember the people who you serve. I think that's the most important thing.
Do you think politics have changed a lot since you were in there?
Yes, I think it's become a lot more hostile. I think we were more tolerant of each other, but I think the environment now has become too hostile, and I think it's time for things to settle down and people start working for the people instead of fighting each other,
Now, you're still a young man, but you'd be considered an elder statesman. Can you pass on any of the decorum that you practice in your day to these young bucks?
Well, I think if they could look back at how we conducted ourselves back then, I think it made a difference, because even though we were against their policies, but you don't get against the person. You try not to go to that level. It's important that we're all Bermudans, and we all want the best for Bermuda. So I think just that each side is trying to go about it a different way, but we don't need to fight each other.
But lest we get too carried away with all this sweetness and light, Opposition Leader Mark Bean said this by-election is serious and told us what to expect if his candidate wins.
What it would mean is that the One Bermuda Alliance will naturally be held to account more because one of their members has to be the deputy speaker. So when we get into committee, they will have to change their approach and their attitude. And this word they use a lot, collaboration, they'll have to start to attempt to practice it. And because if they don't, when we get into the committee of a whole house, where we debate the details of a piece of legislation, when we vote on it, the votes will be tied.
Now the House has just gone back into session. Can the public now look forward to less acrimony and more harmony?
No, it's harmony comes based on honor and trust and being an honest broker. And what the media, I don't think, is able to convey, or maybe the spin doctors of the OBA like to convey, is that there's absolute confusion, because it is. That's the way they choose to keep it. And for us, our responsibility is to hold them to account. Our responsibility is not to go out the back and have coffee and tea with them. Our responsibility is not to fraternize with them. Our responsibility is to assess their policies and their bills, and if we agree, we'll let them know. If we disagree, we'll point out why and offer an alternative solution.
For VSB News, I'm Charles Webb.
Forceful action by the official receiver and registrar of companies in obtaining the court's approval to taking control of the defunct Outerlea Farm in Smiths has averted the possibility of a shortage in Bermuda's supply of fresh milk. VSB News' Brian Darby has the story.
Outerlea Farm supplies 55% of the island's fresh milk, but in the face of mounting debts, the owner, Harry Cromer, petitioned the Supreme Court earlier this year to be wound up. To avoid delay in providing care and assistance to the farm and with due concern for the deteriorating health of the herd, the official receiver and registrar of companies applied to the courts for appointment as provisional liquidator. By taking control of the company, the official receiver was able to protect the herd and ensure the orderly transition of the business to a new owner. The official receiver was quick to praise the efforts of 3 members of the staff who continued to work at the farm even though they had not been paid for several months. The Department of Works and Belco assisted with continuing supplies of water and electricity to the farm, while Dunkley's Dairy, the farm's main customer, continued to supply a line of feed for the herd of 265 cows. The farm operates on 2 government-owned plots of land in Smith Parish, comprising a total of more than 23 acres. I'm Brian Darby, reporting for VSB News.
While the OBA government has managed to cut its current and capital spending by $42.5 million in the first 6 months of the current financial year, unexpected and unavoidable increased expenditure has occurred that will make it difficult to meet budget forecasts by the end of the year, according to the half-year report of the Ministry of Finance. For example, there has been an increased demand for financial assistance that has taken the estimated total past the $40 million mark, and there will be a hefty bill to pay for the visits of Tropical Storm Faye and Hurricane Gonzalo, despite insurance coverage. The ministry reports that revenues for the first 6 months reached $443.5 million, $4 million higher than during the first 6 months of the last financial year. But it has been found that customs duty is tracking 7.8% below 2013. Happily, payroll tax rose $3 million. While most other crimes are going down, the incidence of stealing motorbikes is soaring, with 728 reports of thefts being recorded by the police for the year to date, compared with the 599 noted at the same time last year. The most frequently stolen bikes are the Honda Scoopy, Cymax HD125, and the Yamaha Nuvo, and owners of these makes are advised to use secondary locks at all times. The most common area where motorcycles are taken is in the city of Hamilton, and virtually every motorcycle parking area has been hit. While many of these areas are covered by CCTV cameras, the thieves disguise themselves or cover their faces with dark visor helmets, night and day. To reverse this trend, the Roads Policing Unit has realigned resources to concentrate on this crime, and in the short time of operation, a number of stolen motorcycles have been recovered and arrests have been made. The Bermuda Tourism Authority is making lemonade out of lemons today by launching a dramatic video across the world of social media on how well Bermuda handled the ravages of Tropical Storm Faye and Hurricane Gonzalo, and how quickly life returned to normal. BTA CEO Bill Hanbury says it's more of a thank you to all who took part in the restoration. But to those who lived through the experience, the 5-minute film is a real eye-opener, as you can see right now.
Bermuda is still trying to recover from Tropical Storm Faye, which came through here just days ago. This could be the strongest storm to hit Bermuda in more than a decade. Hurricane Gonzalo. So many people here in Bermuda are preparing for what could be the worst storm of their lives.
A direct hit tonight on Bermuda.
Hurricane Gonzalo made landfall just before 9 o'clock last night, officially as a Category 2 hurricane.
We are feeling those hurricane-force winds and rain, the full force of Gonzalo.
Winds more than 100 miles per hour, nearly snapping those trees, power lines exploding.
Knocking out power to tens of thousands. It was the most powerful storm to hit Bermuda in a decade.
By the time Gonzalo moved away, it knocked out power to about 90% of this island.
Tonight, the people here are ready to take on this monster. I know Bermuda's strong, but this is a strong storm.
We're stronger.
This was probably a very unique week in time because we came off Tropical Storm Faye and created real havoc before Hurricane Gonzalo came.
And we were watching this storm, and just the wonder of nature. It humbles you. It humbles you to know that, you know, as much as you think you're in control, there could be a time that you're truly not.
In the height of the storm, it's mixed emotions. It's family, it's business, it's safety. Unique experience.
Having been hit by Faye and then in Gonzalo in 1 week, I think was pretty hard. When we went out to patch up roofs after Gonzalo, the damages we saw were still there from Faye. So the effects were long-lasting.
I saw the next morning, right after the storm, big machines in the roads pushing trees out of the way. On the water side, you know, you've got a good bit of commercial dive companies and guys with cranes.
There were a lot of people that were hard hit. We had a helicopter, Recce, from the U.S. Navy ship, Argyle. They estimated 200 to 250 homes were hit and had roof damage.
I think we certainly anticipated quite a bad storm with Gonzalo. All evidence suggested, with the eye passing over the island, that the full force of the storm would be brought to bear on Bermuda. But thankfully, I think the preparations allowed the island to withstand it and come out pretty well.
Even though the damages were less than what we expected, we thought that it would take a while to, you know, get things back to normality. Fortunately for us, the community's stepping up. They're not only waiting for us to get there, but they're helping each other out. We're seeing camaraderie, we're seeing a real sense of community here. And it just feels great just to be a part of it.
I just finally got power on after 18 days, which has been pretty grim, but I realized that there are a lot of people still out there that don't have power.
People say they think, you know, they say a lot of things are in Bermudians' blood, and I think bouncing back is one of those things.
Just so many stories out there I've heard where people, like, I spend time with my family, my children, we played cards, you know, all of that stuff.
The emergency services, it actually was phenomenal to see the teamwork of the Bermuda Regiment.
The Belco, fire service, the police, the government departments like Works and Engineering.
EMS, even HMS Argyle, to see everyone come together like a finely tuned machine to actually benefit Bermuda was phenomenal.
And if we're not working together, it won't happen.
I would like to say thank you to the general public for being so courteous to us, and your gratitude has been wonderful.
I can't speak highly enough of those guys and what they've done to get the island back on its feet so quickly.
Flying Tonight Fact Tip today. Over the weekend, I had the good fortune to be in Bermuda. Caused some excitement, but I have to say, the island just shook it off. We didn't even lose power at the hotel. No one panicked. And that's a factor tip of the day. When you travel, just about anything can happen. So stay calm, ride it out. It all adds to the experience. We had a great time in Bermuda.
In its latest update, the Department of Parks reports that most of the major clearance work to roadsides and schools has been completed, and specific crews have been assigned to clear debris on primary and secondary roadways. The Botanical Gardens and the Arboretum are now reopened to the public, and most, if not all, of the major South Shore parks and beaches are open to the public. Work will now continue on the Railway Trail, Crow Lane Park, Clearwater Beach, and Fort Scour. While doing this work, the department is endeavoring to carry out regularly scheduled maintenance in parks, schools, and government properties, which has been slowed by the massive cleanup. The Association of Bermuda Insurers and Reinsurers, better known as ABIR, is taking on new leadership after 2 years that have proved a critical time for Chairman Mike McGavick and his 21 Bermuda-based members. As he thanked Mr. McGavick for his efforts, ABIR's president and executive director, Brad Kading, said his colleague had guided the association while it defended itself against the proposed discriminatory reinsurance tax in the U.S. and pursued the need to present an industry consensus building for Bermuda regulatory changes. XL Group CEO Mr. McGavick steps down on December 31st, and Stephen Catlin of the Catlin Group will take over the ABIR chair for a 2-year term. And now we turn to Earl Baisden, all the way from the Central American and Caribbean Games in Veracruz, Mexico, for today's Sports Report.
Day 3 preliminaries of the Central American and Caribbean Games swimming competition took place in windy conditions in Veracruz, Mexico. Lisa Blackburn took to the pool to compete in the women's 50-meter breaststroke, where she finished 4th in Heat 1 with a time of 34:30. Roy Allen Birch finished 4th in Heat 1 of the men's 50-meter butterfly. He touched the wall in a time of 24:77. Bermuda took on a very physical Dominican Republic in their second women's hockey match. For the second game in a row, the Bermuda game was halted with a player suffering a facial injury. This time it was Tease Miners 1 minute into the game. A ball on the right side saw Miners challenge the Dominican Republic fullback, whose swing caught Miners in the face, resulting in her having to be taken to the hospital. After the game, it was revealed that Miners did not have a broken nose, nor did she need stitches to close the wound. However, she will be out of action for a few days. Dominican Republic would also lose a player to injury with a suspected broken finger. Cecilia Olfactory went into a challenge with Keisha Robinson, and she came out on the wrong end, having to travel in the same ambulance to the hospital with Miners. As the game resumed, Bermuda came close to getting on the scoreboard first when a long ball forward came back off the upright, and with the Dominican Republic goalkeeper losing her footing while trying to clear the ball, a Bermuda forward and a Dominican Republic defender battled for the ball before it was cleared away for a corner. However, from there, the Dominican Republic went on to record a 5-0 win. Staying with CAC Games news, Virginia McKee continued her participation in dressage taking place in Jalapa. Competing in the Intermediate 1 division, McKee and her horse, Walking Glance, finished 18th. They recorded a score of 62.053%. Staying with equestrian news, Jillian Teixeira and Tyler Lopes began competing in their first indoor competition of the season, competing in an international horse jumping event in Belgium. On day 1, Teixeira and Amarula competed in the 1.30 meter Table A 2 phases against the clock class. The pair finished 64th, recording a time of 47.62, and they had 4 penalty fault points. Lopes and Novantas competed in the 1.10 meter Table A against the clock class with no jump-off class. The pair finished 10th, clocking a time of 81.67, and they had 6 penalty fault points. Teixeira then mounted Lac Vals to compete in the 1.40 meter Table A in 2 phases against the clock class. They finished 91st with a time of 55.46, and they had 12 penalty fault points. On Friday night at the Fairmont Southampton, we'll see Teresa Perazzi step back into the ring. This following back-to-back draws in Bermuda and the birth of a baby. Perazzi, in an interview with VSB's Adrian Smet, says she's fully prepared for this battle.
My training, I've also incorporated CrossFit this time, which has really made a difference with my strength. Injuries, I feel just injury-free, everything. I feel great, so I feel strong.
You've had 2 draws in the last 2 fights in Bermuda. What do you think is going to be the difference this time to bring you the victory?
Well, this time I'm not going to let it be that close, so I plan to make it clear-cut. I'm the winner.
Ashley Yearwood and her Denison University women's swimming teammates suffered a 166-128 loss to Kenyon College at the Turnbull Aquatic Center in Ohio. That snapped a 5-year winning streak against Kenyon in the annual dual meet clash. Yearwood competed in a total of 4 events. She swam the 3rd leg for the Denison women's 200-yard medley relay team that finished 2nd with a time of 1:45.92, which broke a varsity record. Yearwood finished 2nd in the women's 100-yard backstroke, touching the wall in a time of 58.66. She would finish 2nd in the women's 100-yard freestyle, recording a time of 53.33. Yearwood swam the 2nd leg of the Denison women's 200-yard freestyle relay team that finished 1st with a time of 1:35.45, which also broke a varsity record. After 4 rounds of the Bermuda National Athletics Association's 2014 cross-country season, we now take a look at the leaders of divisions. Rachel Otterbridge leads the women's open division with 20 points, while Kim MacGyver is in 2nd with 16 points. Shafton Hall is the current leader in the men's open division with 22 points, while Chase Smith is in 2nd with 20 points. The men's masters division leader is Jay Donowa with 30 points, while Amari Hart is in 2nd with 20 points. Denji Fisher leads the women's masters division with 22 points, with Dion Berry in 2nd with 20 points. David Darrell leads the boys under-17 division with 30 points, while Aaron Jacobs is in second with 16 points. Messiah Greaves leads the under-17 girls division with 26 points, and Kwashi Douglas is in second with 20 points. Jaden Ming is the leader of the under-14 division boys with 40 points, while Ryan Otterbridge is in second with 32 points. Jesse Marshall leads the under-14 girls division with 36 points, with Kayla Raymond in second with 32 points. The Bermuda Netball Association, who played their games on Saturdays at Bernard Park, have released the current senior standings after the latest round of action. Young Men's Social Club Blazing Bluebirds and the Young Men's Social Club Lady Bluebirds lead the league with 9 points each. Both are undefeated thus far on the season. The Blazing Bluebirds lead with a goal difference of 170, while the Lady Bluebirds have a goal difference of 168. The WWC Pink Panthers and the Signwork Nets are tied for third with records of 2 wins and 1 loss. I'm Earl Basden reporting from Veracruz, Mexico for VSB Sports.
Thanks for watching VSB News Online for Tuesday, November 18th. I'm Peter Kittel.